your weekly dose of some place in Maastricht and the stories connected with that. Because, of course, no matter what spot you talk about, there is always books and books full of stories to be told about the people who made that happen or used it or destroyed it or lived there. And so that's what history is about, really, all the time. The stories of the lives of people. I'm going to talk about the Beyart. You may have heard the name. It is one of those hidden spaces in the city. You can't really see it when you are crisscrossing the city on the public roads that are used most of the time. They radiate out from the Vrijthof and the market to where the city gates used to be. And they're named after their destinations. So the Brussels street goes to Brussels eventually. This goes for quite a few of them, and I suppose you realize that. And they are built up along the street, but very often immediately behind those built-up fronts, so to speak, there are large open areas, or at least there used to be for a long time. And there would be gardens, orchards. You'd have fruit trees and then pigs rooting around below there. And people would want grass to bleach their linens. And there'd be vegetable gardens and, workshops and storage spaces and all sorts of things. One of those large areas still goes by the name of the Beyart. Where that name came from is a bit contentious, so I won't go into that in my 5 minutes. But they're interesting stories in themselves. Why is it called the Beyart? I suppose it had something to do with bells, but no. There was a nuns' convent there, a medieval convent, but that didn't survive the endless shelling of the French. So after the bombardment of 1794, it was so heavily damaged, they decided to abandon it. And of course, the French who conquered the city abolished anything and everything church anyway. So, they had to leave it on any account. About a century later, a new 19th century order of brothers, so people, males of the species, who have received some of the religious ordinations, but not necessarily the one to make them into priests. Brothers built their house there, the convent of the Beyart. The actual name of the brothers is a very different one. We did an entire podcast on that. Have a look. Lengthy story. To most of Maastricht, the Beyart means schools. It means education, because that's what the brothers did, at any rate for the boys. They founded schools everywhere around the old city. And most people who are now pensioners and who lived in Maastricht at the time have been educated by the brothers or by the 19th century orders of sisters who took care of educating the girls. Maastricht owes its solid foundation of being able to read and write to people like the brothers of the Beyart. There is, of course, by now, all their schools have been transferred to lay staff, and most of them are no longer in use as schools. The convent itself is also no longer a convent. It is a nursing home. It is for the very old and the very frail, but at least they can enjoy the remains of the old convent and the large garden surrounding it.